Hey, hello, and I've got another whiskey review for you today. We're in the middle of a heat wave. It's absolutely scorching out. Yesterday afternoon was the worst. It was really uncomfortable. And contrary bastard that I am, in the middle of a heat wave, in probably the warmest week we've had this year, I am going over to the cold. I am going to the cold side. But before I do, I'd like to recommend this book, A Dark History of Whisky by Gary Dawes, my favourite whisky author. Yes, that's me. Okay. It's available now anywhere books are sold. This is a whiskey book like no other. But let's get on to the whiskey. This is going to be a bit of a different kind of whiskey review today because I'm going to do it in a normal way. Take it in a Glencairn glass, perfectly neat. Then add a little water and see what that does to it. Then we're going to jump forward 24 hours because I'm going to put this bottle of whiskey in the freezer for 24 hours and then complete my review. No, I've not gone crazy. This is recommended by the makers of this whiskey, the distillers, that it's drunk straight from the freezer. But is this just a marketing gimmick? The whiskey we are doing is Dalwhinnie Winter's Gold, which comes from the distillery in Scotland, Dalwhinnie, which is as the highest altitude of all. This retails for around 45 to 50 pounds. I had it on a special offer in Tesco's with my club card, so I only ended up paying £27 for this. On the bottle, it recommends, as I say, on the box itself, it recommends placing this in the freezer. Listen to this. Chill a bottle of Dalwhinnie Winter's Gold in the freezer and let this rich golden whiskey reveal its smooth and neat character as it warms in the mouth. What they promise or claim is that if you freeze this whiskey, then you pour a dram, then every single sip will give you a different experience as the whiskey warms up. On the back, we are told that Dalwhinnie's Winter's Gold, set in Scotland's remote island. Dalwhinnie is Scotland's highest and coldest distillery. The exposed mountain pastures offer no shelter from winter's icy winds. Snow blankets the distillery for half of the year, but the harshest conditions can bring the sweetest rewards. Dalwhinnie Winter's Gold is only distilled from spirit made between October and March, our Scottish winter. As the snow falls and the air is sharp with frost, the cold copper intensifies our liquids and its rich, deep character unfolds. When the winter grows colder, our liquid becomes gentler and warmer. The result is a golden spirit with a smooth honey taste. Hints of spice mingle with soft heather notes, culminating in a whiskey as heartwarming as our winters are bleak. Now, this is not the first whiskey that I've drunk that has been recommended to be drunk straight from the freezer. A few years back, Johnny Walker brought out a version of Johnny Walker. It was called the White Walker, and it was tied in around the Game of Thrones series, HBO's series, which was based on the George R.R. Martin books, which it looks like the author will never finish. But let's crack open this again. In terms of presentation, it's rather nice. It's probably got some colouring on this because it's a very dark looking whiskey, and it doesn't say that it hasn't got added colourings. So let's crack it open anyway and see what we get. Okay. Quite a rich nose on this. Let's pour myself a little dram. And then, as we say, we'll sample this now, talk a little bit about it, and then we'll place it in the freezer. I'll come back to it 24 hours time and see if there is any noticeable difference or if it's just marketing. But before we take this to the nose and give it a taste, let me give you a little bit of history of Dalwhinnie itself. The Dalwhinnie distillery was founded in 1897 and originally called Strathspey. It is known for its high altitude location in the Scottish Highlands and its unique production methods. It has seen multiple ownership changes, including a brief period as the first foreign-owned Scotch distillery,
A major fire back in 1934 halted production for 4 years, and the distillery also faced wartime restrictions. Despite these challenges, Dalwhinnie has become a prominent distillery known for its lightly peaty heather honey character and its use of traditional worm tubs for condensation. Its early years, 1897 to 1905, it was founded in 1897 by John Grant, George Seller and Alexandra Mackenzie. The distillery, as stated, was originally named Strathspey. However, financial problems led to a change in ownership within its first year, and the name was changed to Dalwhinnie, which is how it remains today. In 1905, Dalwhinnie became the first Scottish distillery to be acquired by an American company, Cook and Bernheimer, which made it the first Scotch distillery to be under foreign ownership. In 1934, a devastating fire closed the distillery for 4 years. It was rebuilt and reopened in 1939, but wartime restrictions on barley prevented production until 1940. After the war, Dalwhinnie continues to produce whisky with relatively few interruptions, undergoing major refurbishments in 1986 and then again in 1992. In 1987, Dalwhinnie's 15-year-old single malt was chosen as part of the Classic Malt series, which significantly increased its profile. In the modern era, Dalwhinnie continues to operate, known for its high-altitude location, traditional production methods, and its distinctive, lightly peated heather honey character.
Okay, on the nose we get an honeyed, a sweet honey. There's a bit of a burn on the back end on the finish. So it's 43%, so it's a bit more potent than the standard 40%. That extra few percent really pays off in terms of taste. It's quite rich, quite honey. I think is the major factor in this. No peat. That's really, really nice. Now I'm going to add just a capful of water here. Because, not much, just a capful into the glass. Leave the water for a moment to do its thing, because I've said this countless times in whiskey reviews. I've probably said it many times, as I've mentioned my book, A Dark History of Whiskey, which is available now, go get it. That ethanol, the alcohol, even in a 40% whiskey, it's still a strong drink, and the ethanol can act as a trap and trap in a lot of the flavours. So the addition of a little water, and by the amount I just put in there, which wasn't even a capful, you're not really proofing the whiskey down. You probably are to some extent, but it's a fraction of a percent. So the water's done its business now. Let's give this a spin around the glass, a swirly, whirly, and admire the legs. The legs are pretty handsome on this. I was quite impressed with that taste. That was nice. I wouldn't say it was overly complex. The main thing I was getting was honey, but I think there may be some heather there as well. So let's. That's right away. The water's done its business. It's. That's really, really good. That's really good whiskey. Anyway, let's stop this review now, pop this in the freezer, say bye-bye for 24 hours, and then come back and test out the spirit of Winter's Gold. Is putting it in the freezer just a clever marketing ploy by the distillery? Does it really make a difference? We shall see. Out in the shed, or as I call it, the bothy of broken dreams, where I do a lot of my pipe smoking reviews, and into the freezer we place the Dalwhinnie. Now it's going to be interesting to see if this is a hit or a miss after 24 hours. So for now, bye bye.
Hello, faggot lovers everywhere. I've a message for you from Birdseye. Birdseye faggots will appeal to your whole family. They've made them with lashings of gravy, but they've gone easy on the spice because kids don't like them too spicy, apparently. Birdseye even suggests that people who don't like faggots could enjoy these. They live in hope. You know, that could be right.
I've had busy day in work, come home, had a nice bath, had a bit of a chill, read a bit of a book. The Two Towers by J.R. Tolkien, if you're interested. And I've dug out the Dalwhinnie Winter's Gold out of the freezer. It's actually had more than 24 hours. I think it's had like 32 hours in the freezer. And the bottle looks like it's just been pulled out of the ice, like one of Shackleton's whiskies. And if you're not sure what I'm referring to there, you can check out a review of my review. Sorry, you can check out a review of my review. That doesn't make any sense. But you can check out my review of Shackleton's whiskey and the story behind that. Now, I'm not convinced that this whiskey, and I don't know if you can see the ice around the bottle here, I'm not convinced that freezing this will make the taste any different, and I feel that it may be a marketing gimmick, and I can understand why Dalwhinnie feels that they've had to do this. It's the same reason that Johnny Walker tied in with Game of Thrones for the White Walker, and also why recently the Black Label, let me get a bottle. The Black Label has been tied into the popular Netflix TV series, the global hit Squid Games. And the reason for that is, for a great many years, whiskey has got that image of being an old man's drink, and it needs to cast that image aside if it is to have a future. As Dave Broom says in his wonderful book, Whisky the Manual, and I would recommend that anyone who's interested in whiskey reads that in all the fastest growing whiskey markets in the world, the way whiskey is drunk is as a mixer, as a highball, and you shouldn't be afraid to do that. Although there are many whiskey reviewers who will insist that the only way to drink whiskey, especially a single malt, is straight and with a grimace. It should be uncomfortable. That's a load of bollocks, if you excuse the language. And whiskey is not an old man's drink. And this old man is trying to convince you that it's not, that it's a vibrant drink, it's a complex drink, it's a drink for anyone. And you can drink it as a mixer, you can drink it as a cocktail, you can drink it straight, you can drink it over the rocks, you should drink it the way you want to. That being said, I'm going to pour this frozen glass. Now, I can't believe the look of that bottle. I don't know where you're seeing the icing on your look, but this is absolutely chilled to the core. Ooh, struggling to get the cork out there. Now, considering I'm suspected this is non-chill filtered, it doesn't look really hazy. Although it is a bit hazier than it was earlier. It was a lot more clear than that. So, let's just say this is non-chill filtered, which is a mark in its favour. I'm also going to make myself a bowl of Garwith and August C&C tobacco, which is an American type blend, an aromatic. Used to be called coffee and cream, but I'm just going to get that to go in here to accompany this whiskey. Now, as I say, if whiskey is to have a future, it needs to cast aside the image of being an old man's drink, and lots more and more young people are drinking whiskey and discovering the delights of whiskey, because whiskey is a truly remarkable spirit. It's, you know, far more complex than, say, vodka or gin. It is a remarkably fine drink, and we do need to get rid of that whiskey as an old man's drink image, so that we can enjoy and explore many of the fine whiskies that are currently available on the market. And in terms of the range of different whiskey styles, the time has never been better. So let's give this a taste, because
I'm really interested to see what this time in the freezer has done to this whiskey. Now, Dalwhinnie claim on their website that every sip of this should be a different experience to me as the whiskey warms in my hand and also as it warms in my mouth. So let's take it to the nose. Now, as expected, because it's so cold, it's very subdued in terms of nose. I'm still getting honey. Although it is a different experience than when I drank it, was it yesterday afternoon? Straight from the bottle at room temperature. It's a lot easier on the palate. Still very smooth, still honey, some fruit, maybe citrus. No peat, definitely no peat. Honey, fruit. It's delicious, frozen, chilled, completely chilled as it was at room temperature. Let's test this theory out, so let's give this a minute now. I'll hold it in my hand like that to try and warm the liquid up in the glass. And we'll give it a moment to see if it makes any difference. And we'll take another look at the amount of ice on the bottle there, so you can see how long this has had in the freezer. The gentle spirit, crafted by the cold, it says on the bottle. It's a lovely, delicious whiskey, but then it was delicious when I originally drank it at room temperature. Honey is the main thing. There's some fruit, light fruit, but like sweet fruit coming through with this. That's fantastic. This is definitely a quality whiskey, and I'll probably keep this bottle in my cabinet with my other whiskies. I don't think I'll pop this back in the freezer. If I wanted it chilled, I could probably simply pour it over ice. In other words, have it as a scotch on the rocks. But it's definitely a different experience with drinking it at this temperature rather than at room temperature. It's definitely a different experience. The finish is good. The one thing that I'm not getting with it at this temperature is that burn. Now this has had no water added, no ice, so it hasn't been watered down, proofed down at all, so we're still drinking it at the 43%, but there's no burn there. The temperature of this whiskey seems to have tamed that burn. Whether you like the burn, as I do, or not, as some people may find a burn a bit more problematic, then maybe drinking this straight from the freezer is the way to go. That is a fantastic whiskey, though. It really is a fantastic whiskey, gentlemen, from the distillers. They're trying to make, no doubt, they're trying to make whiskey seem a lot more trendy, a lot more with it, and there is nothing wrong with this whiskey from the freezer. Look, I've nearly done the glass. I've really enjoyed this. So that's Dalwhinnie Winter's Gold. Drink it from the freezer, drink it at room temperature, drink it the way you want it, and that advice is suitable for any whiskey. Don't let anyone tell you how to drink your whiskey. Drink it the way you want to. So that's me.